Thank you so much for joining us today. Let me give you a camera. How about that? All right, there we go. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today for a Lunch and Learn on phonographic records. My name is Brittany Morris and I serve as the Record Services Manager here at the Delaware Public Archives. Today it is my pleasure to welcome our presenter, Mr. Stephen Diavria. He has over 17 years of of experience in the archives field, and he is currently serving as our audiovisual archivist, and he does a phenomenal job. So before we hand the reins over to Stephen, I just want to let you guys know that if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to go ahead and load them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that throughout the presentation, and I'll be sure to share those with Stephen at the end so he can get you some answers. So without further ado, here is Stephen.
Hi, so like Brittany mentioned, my name is Stephen Diavria, and I'm the audiovisual archivist here. Today's Lunch and Learn is called Voices from the Past, the Delaware Archives Phonograph Collection. So we'll begin just by talking about the records themselves. They're officially called phonograph records, but they also go by gramophone records, vinyls, LPs, albums, or just records. Unfortunately, the last name record is kind of confusing since here at the archives, pretty much everything we have is a record. So obviously today we're just talking about the actual discs. So a little brief history about phonographs. They were patented by Emil Berliner in 1887. They originally competed with phonographic cylinders, but they became the phonograph records became dominant by the 1910s. Originally, they were not as good as cylinders, but over time, things improved. Early records were made out of shellac and played at a variety of speeds, but eventually 78 revolutions per minute, or RPM, was the standard. They became known for this reason as 78s. Vinyl records became the standard in the 1940s and 50s. Generally 7-inch discs played at 45 RPMs and were called 45s, and 12-inch discs played at 33.3 RPMs. There were a lot of other sizes as well. 10 and 16 inches are examples, and revolutions per minute could be anywhere from 60 to 130. They also came in a bunch of different formats like long play or LP, extended play or EP, and singles, with the RPM increasing for each one of those. Records were the industry standard from the early 1900s to around the 1980s as cassette tapes and CDs rose to prominence. And believe it or not, nowadays there is a sort of vinyl revival with people going back to audio records to listen to the sound that way. So to describe the records themselves, they were a flat disc inscribed with a spiral groove, which typically began on the outside edge of the disc and moved inward. A microphone diaphragm sensed changes in air pressure caused by sound waves from speakers, instruments, or other sources. The diaphragm would then move because of that sound, and it would cause a stylus or scriber to scratch the surface of the disc. So it was a mechanical, physical process to put sound onto a record. Common sizes of discs include 7, 10, 12, and 16 inches in diameter, and common playing speeds, as mentioned earlier, included 33 1/3, 45, and 78 revolutions per minute, or RPM. Discs could be anywhere from a few minutes to around 30 minutes. 45 singles, for instance, were about 3 minutes, which is why a lot of pop music today is about 3 minutes long. They're usually described by their diameter or their speed, by either, you could call it a 12-inch disc or a 78 or something like that. There were a lot of uncommon revolutions per minute, such as 8.3 or 16.6 RPM. Originally, they were all single-sided, but eventually they became double-sided. Most people today are probably familiar with LPs, which stands for long playing or long play. They started using that in the 1950s. They were 10 to 12-inch discs that played at 33 1/3 RPM, and they could hold roughly a half hour of audio on each side. And as mentioned earlier, they competed with singles, which was 7-inch discs that played at 45 RPM and were known as 45s. So the phonograph itself was invented in 1877 by Thomas Edison. Originally, they were intended for the cylinders that he created, but eventually they became adapted by Emil Berliner, mentioned earlier, to play discs. Phonographs were also called gramophones or record players or turntables. They can both record the discs and play them back. Originally, this process was entirely mechanical, but electronics were added later on in later years to improve sound quality, such as vacuum tubes and transistors. They used a Q lever to mechanically lower the arm, which enabled precision and reduced damage to the disc. And the stylus ran over the grooves on the disc. The vibrations that the stylus would pick up from the disc were converted into an electrical signal by a transducer, which would then produce the sound. Incidentally, the styli might have diamond or sapphire on their tip for improved quality. And of course, over the century, the mechanics in phonograph players improved quite a bit. Okay, so now we'll talk about our specific phonograph collection here at the Delaware Public Archives. So a little bit of background on it first. In 1944, the Delaware Public Archives Commission began accessioning significant sound recordings. The value of these recordings was suggested as archival material by J. Gorman Walsh of WDEL. Walsh and Harvey Smith of WDEL, as well as William Frank from WILM, sent a lot of them. They sent a huge number of recordings by or from their radio stations, although, as we'll see, not all of them are from those stations. Most are from the 1940s to the mid-1950s, but there are some we have that are outside of that range. Some were digitized in 2006, but the vast majority were digitized between 2017 and 2018. Incidentally, we still do have equipment to digitize the records, so it is still possible to do that. And the records mostly pertain to Delaware and especially the Wilmington area, but we also have recordings of national and worldwide importance as well. So a bit of the scope and content. There's roughly 1,220 phonograph records. Most are 16-inch and play at 33 1/3 revolutions per minute, although we have quite a sizable group of 12 inches and also some 78s. The majority are two-sided. Their quality varies considerably. The level of noise and volume of the recordings differ greatly. Some are marked as bad and have not been digitized, either because of whatever damage they have on them, and others have skips and other wear that makes it harder to hear the sound that they carry. They include both pre-recorded audio, productions made in studio, and live events. And they include an enormous range of subjects, such as history, including little reenactments that they do on the radio, music, both classical and contemporary, subjects in government, politics, and law, sports, especially racing in Delaware, and Delaware teams and events. They can cover science, medicine, and technology. They might include religion, which sometimes overlaps with music, but it can also just be a talk program. There's discussions on military and war, especially World War II. And there is also recordings regarding education, law enforcement, race and ethnicity, and farming and labor. And of course, there's a lot of others. Many of these were recorded from radio broadcast, so it's actually a live recording. And the collection has a bunch of highlights. Some of them include governors, senators, and U.S. representatives, as well as other officials from Delaware. So for governors, we have recordings of Walter W. Bacon, Elbert N. Carvel, and J. Caleb Boggs. For senators, we have James N. Tunnell, John J. Williams, C. Douglas Buck, and J. Allen Freer. And for representatives, we have Philip A. Traynor and J. Caleb Boggs. We also have recordings of schools such as the University of Delaware and other schools such as the Ferris School, P.S. DuPont, A.I. DuPont, the Bayard School, Newark High School, and so on. Churches and religious institutions are also present, such as Christ Church in Christiana 100, West Presbyterian in Wilmington, St. Hedwig's, Old Swedes Church, the Jewish Federation of Delaware, and also just programs discussing religion. Science, technology, health, and medicine are also present. I can discuss anywhere from atomic and hydrogen bombs and atomic energy to fluorescent lighting and television. It talks about new and improved hospitals, especially a veterans hospital, and conditions from as wide-ranging as cancer to syphilis. Many episodes are of the Assignment Wilmington and Wilmington Diary are recorded, which these were essentially just sort of compilations of things that were going on in the city or stories that were of interest to people in Wilmington. We also have World War II audio, including interviews of deployed troops. And we also have nationally and internationally famous people, including Emily Bissell, who is known for her Easter seals against tuberculosis, Bing Crosby, and pictured here is Admiral Bull Halsey. So first we're going to listen to a few samples, and this is one of the oldest recordings we have in our collection, when it's peach picking time from Delaware.
Soon it will be peach time down in Delaware. Soon I will be greeting someone waiting there. Each day she grows dearer, soon she will be mine. Every day grows nearer to peach picking time. When it's peach picking time in Delaware, I'll be there, I'll be there. For in a shady orchard, an old peach tree, a real sweet peach is waiting for me. Up above, the birds are singing, telling of the love I'm bringing when it's peach picking time in Delaware. I'll be there, I'll be there.
Okay, and next we'll move to a recording of President Truman on VE Day. Incidentally, this photo that you're seeing is wounded men at the Newcastle Army Air Base listening to Truman on VE Day. So it's possible that they were listening to this very recording.
This is a solemn but a glorious hour. I only wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to witness this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe. For this victory, we join in offering our thanks to the providence which has guided and sustained us through the dark days of adversity. Our rejoicing is sobered and subdued by a supreme consciousness of the terrible price we have paid to rid the world of Hitler and his evil band. Let us not forget, my fellow Americans, the sorrow and the heartache which today abide in the homes of so many of our neighbors. Neighbors whose most priceless possession has been rendered as a sacrifice to redeem our liberty.
Okay, and last we'll hear from Mrs. Ridgely, Mabel Lloyd Ridgely of Dover, who speaks about the Dover Day celebrations.
Dover is the capital of one of the 13 original colonies, and it is the capital of the state that first ratified the federal Constitution. Dover is a living town today, the seat of the state government. It holds on to its old inheritance, and it keeps its flowery gardens gay and green, and its houses neat and cheerful. come and see the old Capitol for yourself.
So those are just a few of the examples of the audio we have. If you want more information about them, we have a couple of different ways for you to get in touch with us. For one, you could access Archivera, which is a collections portal we have that's online and you can free for everyone to look into. And on the other hand, we also have Content DM. We use this repository to upload all manner of things, documents, photos, audio like this. And it's publicly available. So if you want, you can feel free to take down those QR codes so you can access them. And that pretty much brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time, and I hope it was kind of useful to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Does anybody have any questions? I did not see anything pop up in the chat. Let me check the Q&A. I'll give you guys a couple minutes in case you have any questions. Dana would like to know if you have a favorite recording, Stephen.
Oh, off the top of my head, I can't think of any that are good. I will say that one of the first I recorded, or I didn't record them, but the first that I digitized was like a history of like the General Assembly. It was just neat to hear from decades ago them talking about something that's still around today.
You have a question from Kelly. Kelly asks, are you able to re-record over a phonograph like you can with a CD or a VHS?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would say probably not because it would require making the surface pliable again. I don't think you can re-record a phonograph, but I'm not sure about that.
Lou Ann would like to know if you know what the newest recording is at the archives.
The newest audio recording, I don't know off the top of my head. It's possible. This particular collection, again, focuses in the 1940s to 1950s, although it does branch out, and I think there's some things from much more recently than that. But newer audio than that, I'm not entirely sure.
I think the bulk of our phonographic collection came in this particular collection. But you can use Archivera to search and find all the information you could ever dream of about our phonographic records. And perhaps Lindsay would do that for us while we go on to the next question. Let me see. Gavin would like to know if the program will be available on the YouTube channel. Yes, absolutely. This is going to be added to the Lunch and Learn series that's already on YouTube. Good question. Lindsay is doing a little bit of research on that. While she does that, does anybody have any other questions? Patrick says it was cool to hear the voices from the past.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's always a highlight. Hearing like people that you know about, but like from decades and decades ago.
Dawn has a question for you. She says, since vinyl is making a comeback, do you expect to get any new recordings?
On vinyl, I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's certainly possible, of course, but I think most people use vinyl for listening to popular music, either stuff that's being made right now or like remakes of music from the past. So I suspect that we wouldn't get any more, but of course it's always possible.
We did receive, let me see, I think in 2024 we received a 12-inch phonograph disc from the Community Singers, which it appears that they were from Dover, and it's a Christmas album, so we do have that. But otherwise, I would agree with Stephen. You probably won't see a whole lot in that category. Okay, Emily would like to know, what is the best practice to preserve phonographic records at home, and are there any major signs of deterioration?
So in terms of storing them, it's pretty much the same for most other records. You want to keep them in a stable environment in terms of temperature and humidity. You don't want to expose them to light. too much, or especially heat, because they will absolutely warp. In terms of signs of damage, it's kind of an eye test. Looking at the disc, you can see dust or scratches or things like that. And hopefully you can trace that back to what's causing that. There are sleeves, archival sleeves and boxes specifically for phonograph discs, which can help protect them to some degree. But in general, just to kind of keep an eye on them every so often. Obviously, if you play them back and there's a lot of skipping or static or something, there might be an issue there as well. Yeah.
All right. That might be it for questions. Lindsay, did you find the answer to Luann's question? No pressure.
So it looks like the latest phonograph record that we received was from 1999, titled Bill Brown, and it was a program on WDEL. The program was called Bulletin Board His Story. We have received some CDs that are from 2008 that were added to the photograph collection, but they themselves are not phonograph records.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right. It looks like that's it for questions, but Stephen, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very informative, and you're a wonderful presenter. So thank you so much. If no one has any other questions, we will go ahead and say goodbye. I'm sure there'll be another Lunch and Learn lined up soon, so please stay tuned for that. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.